Everybody, it's Peyton Mansell.
And I'm Jim Deacon.
And we're here commentating for the 11th annual Crosstown Throwdown out in Temple, Texas. Thank you to all of our sponsors that made this tournament happen. We've got Meridian Discs, Texas Farm Bureau, Mike Mansell, Rome Roofing, Discaholics, Storm Nation, Magnolia Realty, Jorge Rangel, AAA Straight Faith, Game Nights, and Armory Disc Golf.
Let's get to round one. Hole number one, Crossroads Disc Golf Course, 224-foot par 3. A little hyzer into the home. You got out of bounds on the left with the cart path. You want to avoid these trees to get back to the basket. If you get past the trees, it's going to be a pretty easy putt for you. Great way to start out the Crosstown Throwdown.
We're going first up on the box. GT Hancock.
Looks like GT's lining up in A2 here. I know it's a pretty stable A2, and that kind of makes sense considering it's a pretty stiff headwind. So
he's going to try to get underneath the trees. Looks like he did that. Going to have himself a birdie putt.
Next up on the box, Chandler Kramer.
We've got the forehand specialist Chandler Kramer. I think he's lining up a beach right now, which is a really overstable AGL mid-range.
He hit the tree. He's got a great shirt on, too.
Yeah, great shirt. Next up, we've got the hometown legend Jaden Rye. It says he's from Murphy, Texas, but he's actually a college student at UMHB. I know he's got his pretty stable Felon in his hand, which is a lot of disc for this hole, but like I said earlier, we've got a pretty stiff headwind, so I think he's just going to try and smooth out a forehand.
Oh, underneath. Oh! Almost aced that.
Almost rings it up. That would have been a heck of a way to start the round. So I know that's going to pretty much be a tap-in. Next up, we've got Blake Whitehead. I believe he's throwing a runway. I think he's going backhand. It's kind of the same line as GT, just trying to miss the trees on a backhand.
Looks like he got it up in the air a little bit. He's going to hit one of those trees in front. He's going to have himself a long birdie putt. So
now we've got Chandler lining up his birdie putt. Really long putt. It's one of those putts, hey, if it goes in, great. If it doesn't, tap in.
Blake's got the same thing, and he's going to hit one of the guardian trees, and he's going to have himself a long par putt. First putt, kind of tester. Looks like nerves on the first hole there for Blake. It's a bogey.
Tough bogey to start the round, but I've seen Blake play out of his mind out at this course, so I know he'll bounce back. Good birdie from GT right there, and basically a tap in for Jaden after almost getting the ace.
He did. Kramer will tap in. Chandler will tap in for his par. Blake will get his bogey. So we got two birdies, a par, and a bogey to start out hole number one here at Crosstown Throwdown. Let's get on to number two. Hole number two here at Crossroads, 335-foot par 3, forehand dominant hole. There's a big forehand gap. Most of the players will go down the left-hand side for the forehand. They want to get it through this gap, skip it up to the basket, and get a chance to make a birdie putt. There is a backhand line, but there's a lot more trees in it, so it's a more favorable route is to take the forehand route. Come to about here, skip it into the basket, and then you get yourself an easy birdie putt. If you don't, you're going to be battling trees.
Got GT lining up a forehand here. There are a couple different gaps you can go through. There's a middle gap, and then there's also kind of a hyzer flip gap on the left side. So it looks like he
took the forehand gap. He's going to have himself a birdie putt.
Looks like Jaden's throwing his Fusion Justice. I know it's a little bit straighter for a Justice. He looks like he just goes right through that middle line, which is kind of the most direct line.
Exactly.
Shocker, Chandler's also lining up a forehand.
But he hits the tree. He's going to have himself a long approach shot.
Blake has got his good old green max, taking it through that left gap. And that's the one problem with that left gap is it just has so many guardian trees.
Even after the storm, there's still a lot of trees on that hole.
Chandler tossing up his upshot. Just catching one of those left guardian trees.
Exactly. Blake does the same thing. It looks like Blake's a little nervous here to start out with.
Got about a 50-footer for Blake, looks like. Yeah, just getting it up near the basket. Chandler.
Best putt of the day. Best putt of the day. Great par putt.
Slammer, man. If you don't know, Chandler actually putts with slammers. So not new ones, but the old round of them. Jaden again with a little tap in right here.
For his birdies, can hit two birdies, two holes.
And GT with the tap in, two back-to-back tap ins for GT and Jaden basically.
Blake's going to finish out. He's going to go to 2 over the first 2 holes. I'm sure he's going to start playing better, let him settle down, get the nerves out of his system. It's the 3rd hole in the Crosstown Throwdown, which is hole number 10. It's a 257-foot par 3. You can take a shot right up the gap here. You want to avoid the cart path that's out of bounds, and then the basket is going to be on the other side of the cart path. Most players now will take a forehand around the cart path to the left and kind of skip it in there around the trees and be able to make a birdie putt on it. 2 different ways to do it. It's an easy hole if you just got to miss the trees. A lot of holes at Crossroads just miss the trees.
We're on hole 3 right here, which is course hole 10. I'm assuming GT's got either a mid-range or an approach disc or a putter. It's basically just a pretty simple hyzer line. And Jaden's actually taking the sneaky route. There used to be a Mando that actually got knocked down by the tornado.
So Chandler's going to follow the same thing. He's going to have a pretty good putt, chip it up, and looks like he's going to have a birdie opportunity up there. Blake's going to take a backhand up through the gap. That's where I throw it. And he's probably going to be right up by the cart path. You don't want to land on the cart path because that's out of bounds.
Yep.
Blake's going to have himself, what, 30, 35, 40 footer?
It's about a 50 footer, and this is a really tough place to be because you've also got these little guardian trees in front of the basket. So it's one of those putts again, like, hey, if it goes in, great. If it doesn't, you're just happy you're not putting a 30 footer.
And Jaden's got a long birdie putt as well.
This would be a heck of a way to start 3 for 3, and it's starting to get pretty windy, but just leaks it out a little bit. Then we got Chandler here.
Just made that long putt on 2 for the par. Let's see if he can make that birdie.
Great putt. Great putt.
Nice birdie, gets him under par for the round. So GT's got a little long going for his birdie putt. He left it a little short.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, it's just Crossroads is a weird course sometimes with the wind. The wind just gets to swirling a little bit, just makes those 25, 30 footers just stuff that, you know, not guaranteed makes for some of these guys.
So Jaden flew it a little farther past than he probably wanted to do, so I know he wouldn't make it, but he's got a little tester coming back here for his par.
Yeah, nice little 15, 20 footer. Just that distance you really got to think about when it's this windy. Just dead center, great
Looks like
putt.
his putter is solid today.
Great putt. And you got Chandler and Blake with tap-ins right here. Not the worst score separation for this hole. I mean, walking out with a birdie definitely feels good just because there's always an opportunity to take a 4 on this hole.
Hole number 13 here at Crossroads, the 4th hole in the Crosstown Throwdown. This is a 431-foot par 3. First 3 holes were in the trees. This one is not. It's going to be wide open. You're going to have to show about 300, 330 to get an island green, and then you want to go ahead and make the putt. Usually the wind's in your face. It's a throw. Par 3, 431 feet.
This is a tricky hole. It's about 435 feet and then straight into a headwind, and then it's kind of tough to see on camera, but you can see there's an OB line right, and that line actually cuts in right in front of the basket. So if you leave it about 400, 390 dead straight with the basket, you're going to be OB, so it kind of just brings in another thing into play.
Chandler went ahead and put a forehand. He's up on the left, probably 35, 40 feet. GT left his a little wide on the left as well, so he's going to have himself a long birdie putt.
You got Jaden, looks like he's throwing probably a general right here. General or a Jaden Ryan Forcer, one of those with his signature stamp on there. And that just looks about as perfect as it gets. Gets that great skip, and he should have pretty much a tap in. You got Blake right here. I believe he's throwing a stiletto, which if you haven't seen Blake throw, there's not too many people that can have a stiletto fly like he has it flying right now. That looks great, and just does not get that skip to get it really close to the basket. You got GT with maybe a 40, 45 footer, and
off the front edge.
He liked it.
He thought he made it.
And this is a headwind too, so this wind just starts ripping on this hole. Definitely makes it a lot tougher than when it's calm out.
You know, when you're in the trees the whole time, this is really the first hole you get wide out in the open, and it's kind of weird just dealing with the wind.
Yep, and then, you know, you have 3 sub 300. I think hole 2 might be 3 something, but you have 3 sub 400 foot holes, and then, you know, 4 holes in, you're having to rip 1 430, which for these guys, distance wise, isn't, you know, anything crazy, but still, it's your first full rip of the tournament.
Exactly.
You got Blake here with probably close to a 30 footer.
Yeah, all 3 of them left it short to that wind, just knocks it down.
Yep, you got 3 tap-in pars, and then you got Jaden with a tap-in birdie. That's a really good birdie to get, especially into a headwind. So he's going to tap out.
3 holes in, 3 birdies for Jaden.
Yep, Jaden's starting it exactly how you want to. So
next up, you have a 346-foot par 3. You can go around to the left, but you got to stay off the cart path. You can go around these trees and skip up around the basket, or you can go right up the gap and hope you miss these trees. If you hit these trees, it's going to be a guaranteed par. If you can get through, you can skip up to the flat ground and give yourself a chance to make a birdie putt. But it's a decision to make. You want to go left around with the big forehand, or you want to go backhand right up through the trees. Par 3, 346 feet.
this hole is a pretty wide open forehand gap. Looks like Jaden's throwing the same disc as the last hole. I believe it's an enforcer. I could be wrong. Yeah, it looks like he gets it a little bit right, but that should be a putt. Looks like Chandler's throwing a chasm, and this is the mistake that most people make on the forehand. It's just so easy, and it's so scary to, you got the OB left to just pull it.
Yep.
So
The tree.
a lot of guys do what Chandler just did and kind of just let it leak right into those trees. GT.
He got around. It looks like he's going to have a birdie putt. Same thing.
And this is just a hole that I would assume Blake would be just, this is perfect max distance, max shot shape. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's, 10 feet away.
And there's Chandler. Chipped up. Got up about a 15-footer for 20-footer for par.
Yep, 15-20 footer, but
it's in the wind.
It's in the wind. It was about a 20 mile. I think today was the windiest day, windy enough to even have one of the tents fly away. So we have about a 15-footer, and you can see through with Chandler's shirt, and the wind is just blowing, and then just
knocked it down. He's going to take a bogey.
Down, taking a bogey. GT with about a 12-footer maybe
for a birdie.
Yep,
nice birdie.
Great birdie. Just far enough to where you still got to think about that putt. My assumption would be that Jaden is going to tap this guy in.
His putter looks like he is hitting everything dead center.
And Jaden's actually adopted more of a pitch putt from shorter. If you've ever played with Jaden, he is known for getting really bad spit outs from about 10 to 12 feet away just because he just rips it in. So it's good to see him slowing it down a little bit.
And then Blake got his birdie to get on, keep going. Hole number 15, a 381-foot par 4, one of the softer par 4s on the course. All you really got to do is navigate these trees. If you can get through all these trees, you're going to give yourself an easy birdie opportunity. Chance to really score. If you hit some trees, you're going to be dealing with having to make par. You want to navigate through these trees, kind of land about here, skip up or right around the creek. Give yourself an easy chip up for a birdie. If you can land right next to the creek, right next to this tree, it's going to give you a chance to make an eagle putt. So there's a chance for you can make up 1 or 2 strokes on the field right here. Hole number 15.
So as you saw from the whole description, it's a really short par 4. It's only 380. But the way the OB is if you're in that gully where the creek usually is, you're OB. So you got Jaden playing it smart here, going with looked like a trust. GT's throwing a mid-range. I want to say that's a ravine. I could be wrong. But it really just makes you, with that OB, it really makes you want to commit or just play the layup. And then you got Blake 100% going for it. I would never be shocked with Blake getting there. I think he two'd it last year.
I think he did too. He's up there close by the creek.
Then you got Chandler. Looks like he makes it through the gap.
Just a matter of where it goes. So
yeah.
Shane's up here about just short of the gully. He's going
probably about 120-foot stepper.
So he's going to go ahead and.
Yep. Nice little pitch up. Take his easy birdie. Same thing with GT, just pitch it up, take your birdie, and you can see those flags too.
This is where Blake's driving it up. He's got a funky shot here.
Yeah.
Try to get it around the tree and around the basket.
Just money. That's just an amazing putt from Blake right
that'll
there.
Kind of change your round.
That'll get the round going.
Nice eagle. And then Chandler went out of bounds on his tee shot, so this is actually his third.
Yep.
To finish up, he went in the creek.
And that's kind of the whole point of that OB is to just, that's kind of where, good forehands land, but great forehands, get up over that gully.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of makes you choose. Like, typically Jaden would always go for it, but I think that OB just kind of made him play mid-range. So
exactly. Just go ahead and get out of there with your birdie.
Mm-hmm.
And then GT and Jaden got their pars, and then Chandler tapped in for his bogey. After playing one of the softer par 4s on the course, you're going to play the hardest par 4 on the course. This is hole number 16, 612-foot par 4. You're going to have about a 350-foot carry. You got to get to a narrow gap, about 35 feet, tank a straight left, and give yourself a chance to look at the green. If you're short of the gap, there's no way to get through. You're going to have to chip up, and you're going to make a par. If you can land up here right in front of the gap and then turn a straight left, you can have a shot to go at the green, possibly make a birdie putt. 4's in play, 5's in play, 6's are in play. Tough hole.
Hole is a really solid par 4. Just basically there's 1 or 2 landing zones to where you can really attack it straight on, but you know, this hole gets a lot easier when you're Blake Whitehead and you can just throw over everything.
And it's hard if you don't get to the gap, you just can't get around the corner, you're going to have to chip up. So most of these guys should be able to get to the gap or get pretty close and have a chance to get over one. That's what Jaden just did.
Yep, that's the stock shot right there. You know, you can go turnover backhand, but most guys, if they have the forehand, that's what they're going to be throwing. So I think Jaden's in prime position to be able to attack this green. He might be a touch short. We got GT lining up the forehand right here. Looks like he just pulls it slightly, and yep.
It's the big tree, so he's got to chip up to make his third shot to get over. There's no chance he can get over it too.
There are some spots if you're short on the fairway, if you've got, you know, a really big forehand or a really big thumb or a tomahawk game, you can try and attack it if you're out of position. But Chandler right there just throwing just an amazing shot. I think Chandler's actually in the best spot. Looks like GT's lining up a high shot. Yeah, I mean, if you've played Crossroads, these trees that you're seeing up top are so much shorter now than they used to be after the tornado. Blake with a forehand after his, I think it was a tomahawk, and that looks great.
He's going to be up there.
About probably 30-footer for his birdie.
It's a heck of a shot. That gap is not very wide, 35, 40 feet. So.
Nope. And shout out to the city, and shout out to guys like Josh Borgsma who really put in the time to, you know, get this hole looking really good. I know a lot of guys put in a lot of effort to make this.
It looks great from the storm, from the where it looked like from the storm to where it looks like now.
Yep.
It's great. They did a heck of a job. Like I said, Jaden was a little short.
Yep, kind of just cuts off what you can do angle-wise, but that's he just catches that last guardian tree. If he doesn't hit that, he might be parked.
There's Chandler was perfect on this tee shot, so he's going to go right at the green.
Yep. This is exactly where you want to be if you're Chandler Kramer, because it's hard to see on the camera, but it just sets up perfectly for this forehand.
He's going to be up there.
Yep, he's going to be pretty far up there.
So GT, now this is where his third shot is. That's where his second one landed.
And just clips a tree.
Blake's birdie putt.
Blake with about a 45, 50-footer maybe. Yeah, that's just...
It's uphill. You just can't get it there.
It's an uphill putt with some pretty thick woods behind it, so it's not a very easy putt to just run. We got Jaden here with about a 30-footer. Yep, just that slight elevation just gets him. If you've never played with GT is very, very, very good with maintaining the same routine, whether that's a 50-footer, whether that's a 20-footer. He's a very methodical player, and that is why he's such a good putter.
And he missed that one, so he's going to go ahead and make a 5. Got to make this for his 5.
And this is that woods that we were talking about earlier. Just, you don't want to be in it. It's super thick. GT's just going to tap in his 5.
Get out of here.
Not exactly the best, you know, what you exactly want, but this hole is just really easy to be out of position on.
Exactly. Chandler's got a birdie putt. His forehand second shot was long. Went back up in the trees as well.
Be great to see Chandler making this one just to kind of get him back on the board and back on the right track. There you go. Nice putt, Chandler.
6 holes in. Jaden's going to be 5 on down. GT's 4. And
yep.
Hole number 17 is a tricky little par 3. You can have a tight open. You got a creek to go over. It's pretty much all carry about 200 feet. You want to get it through the gap, and you want to get underneath this tree. If you can navigate all this could be an easy birdie putt. You land on this shelf, hop on up to the green. If not, you can make a big number. Tricky little hole.
This one gets pretty tricky. It's not an island hole, but the entire middle part is OB, so you can see that ledge right now. If you're under that ledge, you're OB. So there are plenty of ways you can attack it. You can go right at it. It looks like Chandler's lining up that straight shot.
He's going to be right at it for a birdie putt.
Yep, that's about as simple as it gets.
You just can't want to get too high and hit that branch going underneath.
Ooh, Blake almost ringing it up,
Yeah,
looked
he's
like.
right there.
And this is one of the local gaps. Just kind of trying to take the middle part completely out of play and just playing Plinko, really.
Yep.
GT lining up what I believe is a PA3, a base PA3. I could be wrong, but I believe that's what he's throwing.
And he hit the tree.
Yep, just pulls it a little bit.
And goes out of bounds.
And that's just where that punishment is on this hole.
So he's trying to figure out where to go from here.
And not exactly the easiest up and down either. You know, you're below the ledge now. Yep, GT throwing what I believe is a distortion, getting a nice little kick. Chandler with basically a tap in, probably about a 10-footer.
I think they all got tap ins at this point.
Yeah. Chandler's gonna tap in his birdie. Jaden's gonna pitch putt in his birdie.
It's going to be 6 birdies and 7 holes.
6 birdies and 7 holes. And I'm sure he was arguing that, well, the hole before used to be a par 5, so in his head he's probably like, I'm 6 for 6 or 7 for 7 now.
That will be for GT. Next 3 holes at Crossroads, holes 18, 19, and 20, kind of define this course. A lot of little trees. You got to pick your gap and just hope you avoid those trees as best as possible. This one is 390 feet. Big forehand hole. You want to try to get down here and kind of land in the area. If you get yourself a big forehand, you could skip up and give yourself a birdie putt. If not, you just kind of land about here, chip up to the green, and take your 3 and move on. If you hit some trees and go left into the creek, you can get a really big number. The trick is just avoiding the trees and making those putts and get out of there and get to the next hole.
This is one of my favorite holes on the course. It's a really specific forehand line. You got to throw a really technical hyzer flip-up shot that just keeps pushing. Chandler almost ringing it up.
He's going to be down that little gully. Blake's going to go over the top.
That's just, I mean, that's a Blake Whitehead throw right there.
He had to be a baseball player growing up.
He was a college pitcher, actually.
Yeah,
so
you can tell where this lands.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we had a catch cam of that, but looks like Jaden's throwing just a little hyzer.
And he hit a tree,
so
he's not going to have a chance to make a birdie. He'll just chip up, try to make his par. GT's going to go up and over as well.
And there are some lines on the right side. It's gotten cleaned up so much, so there's definitely a couple of lines. And this hole has some teeth, you know. If you hit an early tree like Jaden did, it's not always easy to get up and down.
Exactly. Both of those guys kind of hit early trees, and so they're going to go ahead and make their pars.
GT with about an 80-footer that just
off the top.
Almost just rings up a great putt. Chandler just skipped a little bit long with the chasm.
This is Blake's drive, so he's going to be up the hill for a birdie putt.
Great putt.
Nice 2.
Great back-to-back birdies for Blake right there. And Jaden tapping out a par, looks like. Yep. Little high, but hey.
Got it in. They're all going to go ahead and finish out the hole.
Very hard hole. Not an easy birdie by any means. Usually you'll only get about, for a field this size, I expect like 5 to 6.
Finished up. Got his par. Hole number 19 is definitely a birdie hole here at Crossroads. 324-foot par 3. Big forehand hole. You want to be able to drive it down the gap and turn it to the left and give yourself an opportunity to make 4. This is a green light hole. You want to give yourself the opportunity to go ahead and get a putt for a 2 on this hole. You drive it to about here. You skip up to the green. It's going to give yourself a birdie opportunity. If not, you just chip up and make your 3 and move on to the next hole. This is definitely one of the more scoreable holes on the course. You want to be able to give yourself a shot to make it 2 on this one. It's another shot. Most of these guys should get close to getting birdie. A little hyzer around the corner. Blake's up first.
Yep, just a very, very, stock backhand for a lot of these guys. Blake's actually got a really serviceable backhand. Chandler with, I believe, a crank SS.
How did he get that thing to turn over?
Man, it is such a flippy disc. This was actually the one hole I was really interested to see what Chandler was going to throw.
Got it through there.
Jaden going fast and stable, looks like him just a little inside.
So he's going to have himself a pretty long birdie putt. GT same way, he's got a little outside. line. It's going to skip up.
Yep, and that's the play right there. That's just the stock play, just something fast and stable. Just skip it up there.
Jaden's got a long putt, and he thought he made it.
Oh, you ran it in.
He ran it and hit the top. And Chandler banged.
Great putt from Chandler. I mean, a forehand on this hole getting birdie. I mean,
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty insane way to get a birdie on this hole. And then, like I said, GT just with the stock play
makes his birdie. Pretty routine for him.
Yep.
Kind of got past that bogey that he made a couple holes ago and
Yep.
right the ship. And then Blake's going to go ahead and get himself another birdie here.
Another tap in.
Yep. Jaden's going to get the only par of the round. Only par of the group here. Hole number 20 is a difficult little par 4 here, way in the back here at Crossroads. It's a 522-foot par 4. It's a tough little hole, tight fairway. You want to be able to get through the trees and give yourself a look at the hole. So you're going to get up here. There's going to be a turning point about right here at the trees. If you can get through here, turn it a little to the left, you're going to have a straight run at the basket. Give yourself a chance for a 2. If you're short of that gap, it's going to be difficult. You don't have a lot of room to turn a shot over to kind of shape it around the corner. But you want to be able to get to the gap, give yourself an opening, and then run at the green and give yourself for a birdie putt. Most definitely want to leave here with a par or better. This is a tough little par 4 back here in the back. How many people play it? 500 feet, par
Okay.
4, tight lines.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
warning.
It's just going to go over the top, it looks like.
Yep, shocker there. It's a pretty technical backhand line, but if you've got a 550-foot tomahawk,
Does his shoulder not fall off?
hey, if you've got it, use it. So,
Exactly. That's what he did. He's going to be way down there.
yep, not the hardest hole on the course, but just another one of those holes that, if you get off the fairway, it's got some teeth. Looks
Exactly.
like Chandler's throwing that crank SS again. Which is
Way
basically a Chandler's backhand right there.
Exactly.
GT's lining up what I think it's either Destroyer or an F1.
He's going to hit the gap.
Yep, just clips a tree, but still in really good position.
Exactly.
If you're in the middle on this hole, that's all you really need.
Yeah, you just don't want to get off on the left or the right, get in the trees, and rather than wait, get out.
Jaden's throwing what I believe is a Lucid Ice Enforcer and just leaking it left. And this is where you don't want to be. There are some lines in here, but definitely just makes it a little bit tougher, but
He's going to leave himself
just a little short. And this is what I was saying earlier. Definitely hit something, but still right in the middle. I believe he's throwing a PA3 up there, just getting it to about 25 feet. And then just
Chandler's got a little gap.
crazy to get a forehand up there from that line he took. Blake with about 150 in, just pitching up a backhand.
Exactly. So
And then-
Jaden's not really just going to try to get up and down and get his par and get out of here.
Definitely one that you want, just because it's not the longest par 4, but you're never upset with walking out with a 4.
No.
GT over here lining up, and GT's putting with PA3s if anybody was wondering. Just leaks it left a little bit.
Squirted out.
Blake with about a 20-footer, it looks like.
It's pretty big when you got that tomahawk. You can get so close.
Yep. Takes a lot of stress out from trying to hit a gap.
You're not kidding. And tap in pars here.
Yep. Tapping par for Jaden.
Oh, yeah.
Chandler, back-to-back holes that if you would have told me he would have gotten a birdie on, I would have said, well,
No.
but that's why this guy's on tour with only throwing forehands.
Exactly.
It's all right. Here's
Hole number 22. Back-to-back tough par 4s here at Crossroads. This is a 568-foot par 4. You want to be able to navigate through the trees and give yourself a chance to make a birdie. The wind's going to have a big factor on your second shot. You got to get through these trees off the tee. You want to go ahead and turn it into this gap and give yourself a chance to run the green. If you hit the trees early, it's going to be impossible for you to get to the green and give yourself a chance to make birdie. If you get about here, give yourself an open shot. The wind is really going to wreak havoc on your second shot. It's going to be wide open. You're going to have to drive it through the wind to give yourself an opportunity to make a putt. And then the putt's going to be tough because it's usually pretty windy right around the basket.
Another tricky par 4 here,
He went over.
unless you're Blake Whitehead. You can just throw over everything.
So good.
I don't know if he got all the way out there, but he got down there.
I'll tell you what, though, I guarantee you there is not a disc that was in the air for longer than Blake's shot right there. And looks like Chandler's following him with that same route.
2 looks
Get up
good,
and over.
sir.
Which, if I remember correctly, it was a right to left tail. So
Mm-hmm.
with these guys, if you just put it on angle, it's going. GT's throwing a backhand here through the purest gap, and this is what most of the people do. Just try and get up to the berm.
Exactly. And then give yourself a chance. But you get out in the open on the second shot, and you get the wind back into it.
Yep, Jaden's playing that left side, and like I said, just getting out as close to the berm as you can, leaving himself with probably about a 340-footer. Tough footing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a pretty solid shot from where he
have a long
was.
birdie putt. GT left himself a little bit as well, and he is
Pretty dang close.
exactly.
That was a great shot. Blake just kind of landing in an unfortunate spot. You know, as like we said earlier, we had a tornado rip through Crossroads, so.
Had to do a little yard maintenance there.
Yep, but still should be a pretty stock up and down for Blake, which it is. Puts that to about 5 feet, looks like, from this angle. And then you got Chandler, pretty much the same thing when you're, you know,
That far out there.
that far out there. It definitely makes the hole easier. You got Jaden here with maybe about a 30-footer. Just, you can kind of see the wind kind of played with that one a little bit. Maybe
Blake
came out
went
of
a
his
little
hand.
long on his, putting for a birdie. Just missed that one as well.
And that's just kind of what we said earlier. This is your first hole back out in the open after you've been in the woods for about the past 40 minutes. So
Chandler, yep.
first time that the you know, you're having a putt with a decent amount of wind. So GT with a tap in right there. That's a great bird.
Exactly. Get himself going.
Then we're gonna have a bunch of other just tap in pars, looks like.
It's bombs away here on hole number 23 at Crossroads. 493 feet, par 3, wide open shot till you get close to the basket. You just want to drive a shot down around these trees and give yourself an opportunity to make a birdie putt. The wind's usually in your face, so it's a long carry. You want to try to get over this little mound and give yourself a chance to make a birdie putt to get right and get you 2.
Hole 23 is a tough hole, par 3. It's just a really big tweener par 3. It's plays about 500 feet, slightly uphill. And with these guys, a lot of these guys have got the distance, but there's so many guardian trees in front of the baskets where you've really got to rip on one to get it all the way there. And especially with today, we had a pretty ripping right to left wind here, so it's just really hard to get that disc angle correct. And then you got Blake just absolutely ripping on a stiletto. Then I believe Jaden's throwing it general here and just trying to play the wind. Just a little bit hyzer flip, get it to the right and let it swing back. But there was only one birdie on this hole today, and that was Elijah Cleary. And if I remember correctly, it was a pretty long putt that he jammed.
GT went long and had to chip up.
Yep, and Jaden just let his drive leak left, throwing what I believe is a slammer, just pitching it up there. Same with Blake. It's just one of those holes that you just don't want to take a bogey.
Nope.
Chandler almost rigging it up. He had the best look out of the group, but it looks like we're going to just have a bunch of tap-in pars here, which, I mean, you're not losing much with a par. You just don't want to take a bogey.
Exactly. 4 pars, tap in here. Going to hole number 24, one of the tougher court holes on the course. Along with hole number 16, it's probably one of the hardest holes on the course here at Crossroads. This is a 608-foot par 4 technical tee shot. You got to get through this gap, turn it around to the left, then you have to turn a corner and then go through another set of trees to get to the basket. You're going to want to land your shot somewhere right around up here, land left, and skip up right around this road. You don't want to go past the road. It's going to be out of bounds. Then you got to find a gap, get through this row of trees, and then you see the basket up here on the left. Again, technical second shot into the green area. You don't want to go out of bounds, and then just give yourself a chance to make your 3 or your 4 and move on to the next hole.
Hole 24 here. It's a tough one. You gotta really be conscious about how far you're pushing the disc straight. It's super easy when you've got a big arm to go OB long.
Exactly.
GT's kind of lining up the stock play here, just trying to get big hyzer and get yourself as far left as you can to set up an easy second shot. I believe Blake is going beast tomahawk here.
Over the top.
Over the top.
I just try to get through the gap, make sure I have a shot up to the second set of trees, but these guys are bombing.
Yeah, when you have it, it's so much easier to go over the top. Jaden's landed
just about where you want to be.
Just about where you want to be. I know he would like to be a little bit further right. It's just the further left you are, the harder that hyzer angle is.
That road is out of bounds, so it's really hard. Legs goes coast to coast again. To the top.
Looks like Chandler went OB here. And throwing a forehand, I think he threw a Coleman boss. It's just not shocked that he went OB. Chandler has very, very deceptive power.
Looks like he's not throwing hard at all.
No, but that disc just spins out of his hand. He's probably got, if I had to guess, probably about 350, maybe a little bit less. I'm lining up a forehand here, and if you can't tell, we've got an OB line right, so you can be on the dirt road, you just can't be right of it.
So he's just going to throw a forehand up, turn it over.
Yeah.
Hopefully get close to the basket for a par putt.
Either throw, I can't tell what disc he's throwing. He's either going to hyzer flip this or throw it, touch just a little bit of a flex shot. You just got to be really careful with your angle coming into the green. Yep, he's going with just a really flat shot, pushing it left. Looks great.
He's right out of the basket.
Yep, he's going to have a tap-in par, looks like. Looked like GT clipped something from where he landed, so he's going to have a pretty...
Kind of leaked it out.
Kind of leaked it out. That wind just kind of ripping today. Not too many people can go thumber with a beast and be long.
And then he missed the putt.
And then just, leaks the putt. Very windy day. Makes it really tough on the... wow, Jaden.
About the one time the putter hit the ground.
Yep, got a little bit lucky there. That could have easily have rolled OB.
GT missed his birdie putt. Kind of rushed it a little bit.
And this hole can do it to you. It's a tough shape. If you get a 3, you definitely feel really good about it. I believe GT's tapping out a bogey.
Is he?
I believe so, okay. Yes. Unless that was where his drive landed. Did he get a par or a bogey?
He got a bogey, I'm sorry. And then
and as you can see just from these guys' shirts, the wind's just ripping.
And Chandler, unconventional par.
Unconventional par.
Hole number 25 here at Crossroads is a 288-foot technical par 3. You got a Mando on the right, so you can't do a big hyzer. You want to go ahead and get up by the basket, give yourself a chance to make your birdie putt. OB's long left, so there's some trouble on the hole.
Pretty easy par 3 here. The only danger is there's OB, maybe 10, 15 feet behind the basket.
They cleaned up that ditch. It used to be just a drop-off.
Yep, it used to be about a 20-foot drop-off, so now beyond the rocks, it's a pretty gradual slope, but that OB line is right behind those rocks. Yep.
So if you're going to miss, you're always miss a little short because you don't want to go out of bounds.
Jaden throwing a little bit of a flex shot here. He just nestles it up right there. That's great speed control. Looks like GT's going A2 and just, playing the low shot, not letting the wind mess with it, and just skipping it up there. That should leave him about a 25-footer, but man, that is a sketchy putt with that OB right behind the basket.
Chandler's going to go ahead and make his par.
Yep.
Blake's got a long one off the road.
Yep. But this one's not super sketchy just because you've got a little bit more room to play with.
The wind take that one, took that one.
Jaden's got basically a tap in. Really,
perfect place to be.
Yep, no danger of going OB there, really. Then you got GT. I mean, this is a tap in for GT, but even it being a tap in, man, if you miss, you're going straight OB. But he's a great player, and he just taps in his birdie.
Looks like 2 birdies, 2 pars if Chandler can make his putt.
Yep. Great putt. Really good spin putter. Just cuts through the wind so well. And then you got Blake just tapping out a par.
Next up, we have hole number 12, a 436-foot par 3. Bombs away off the tee, usually in your face with the wind, so it's a long carry to these trees. The only trouble really is the trees around the basket. You want to skip up underneath the trees and give yourself a chance to make a birdie putt. If you hit these trees going in, it's going to be a definite par. But you want to avoid these trees, skip up over the rocks, and then give yourself a chance to make your 3 or even your birdie putt. Nice hole.
You got Jaden throwing what I believe is his enforcer, just playing it low, trying to, nestle it up in there. You've got a pretty good berm right there, so if you hit short of that, you're not getting skipped.
And Jaden started out early, 6 birdies for the first 8 holes, kind of cooled off a little bit on the back.
Really easy to do at Crossroads. There's a pretty good mix of holes, and then GT throwing the ideal line, just getting
mashed with the wind.
Yeah, just hitting a guardian tree. Chandler throwing a boss, and there's just so many guardian trees, so you're kind of, hoping and praying. This hole is actually called the Blake Whitehead hole because he actually aced it last year on the same exact line with the same exact disc.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And if you've ever been out to Crossroads, it's about 420 feet, but man, it's about 600 feet of power to do what Blake did, forehand over the top. Chandler just hits the pole, great upshot. Jaden's got about a 80-footer. Love to make this. Just shorts it a little bit. It's just pretty windy.
Exactly.
GT.
Off the front end.
He just had a couple of those today.
And that's Blake's drive.
That's
450
Blake's drive.
feet over the trees.
Not quite as good as his drive last year, but hey, we'll take a tap in too.
That's a heck of a birdie. Heck of a birdie.
A lot of tap in pars here. It's just it's been such a windy day. It would have been really interesting to see how many of these putts would be going in. That these guys have just been barely hitting cage or barely hitting the band.
Exactly.
Chandler with his placement of a putt right there.
GT with his par putt.
Yep.
Next up, we're going to have hole number 11. That is a 416-foot par 4. It's going to play as hole number 17 on the layout for the tournament. It's a tight little par 4. You got Mandos on the left, Mandos on the right. You want to be able to stay off the road and get out of bounds. If you can get through the trees, get a nice straight tee shot, you're going to get a lot of carry. It's not a long hole. You're going to have the opportunity to make a birdie. It's just a matter of navigating through these trees and giving yourself a chance to make a birdie putt. If you land up here, chip on up, and then you're going to have your birdie putt. If you hit trees, it's going to be a par 4.
Another pretty short par 4, but can get really sketchy with OBs right and left.
Get the double Mando to get through. Usually the wind is kind of coming right at you down down the tree line.
I believe they had a straight headwind for this hole, so this wind is just, playing games with their discs. But, even if you get up a couple hundred feet into the fairway, as long as you're in the middle, it still should be a pretty good up and down. GT just absolutely pures this.
Hit the tree right at the end, or he would have a long birdie putt.
I still think he has a birdie putt. He just would have had a pretty short birdie putt.
Eagle putt.
Eagle putt, yep. Chandler may have sneaked OB right there. It's kind of tough. Jaden with the backhand caltrop. Not a lot of guys throwing that anymore. Blake's just, pitching one up. Kind of leaks away a little bit.
Chandler didn't go out of bounds. I think he's okay.
He's okay, okay. Long eagle bid, and just that wind grabbing it, but that should be a pretty tap in the 3.
Exactly.
Yep, GT would love to make this one.
He would have probably been 20 feet closer.
Yeah.
The tree.
I think if he missed that tree, he would have had about a 20-footer. Blake with a pretty nervy par or birdie putt right here.
Went over. The wind kind of picked it up.
Yep, this wind was just ripping. I mean, you can kind of see the shirt and the flags right there, how windy today was. Jaden just taking an extra couple seconds to get his putt lined up, and you can see that wind just slapped that putter down in the basket. GT lining up his 3. Nice putt, GT. Then you got Chandler lining up his 3 as well.
Got it.
Yep.
Finishing hole here at Crossroads, a 407-foot par 3. The basket, they moved it back for the tournament. It's not where it is right now, but you want to be able to carry off your tee shot. You're going to have to get past this little ravine, and then you're going to have to land on an island green. You don't want to go long and then get out of bounds, but you want to land about here, get on your island, then you're going to chip up and give yourself a chance to make a 3. Tough hole. Usually the wind is in your face. it's a challenging finishing hole. Okay, Peyton, we got to the final hole. It's a little different than what the drone showed. The basket's in a little different place. Kind of tell us what's going on here.
Yep, so hole 27 or hole 18, it's now a about 480-foot hole. Definitely twoable. I believe there were 3 twos on the day with it, and especially with it was a right to left tailwind, but it's actually an island hole as well. So you've got to clear that little culvert, but what the little caveat with that is if you go OB by the basket,
How far is OB past the basket?
Only about 50 feet.
Okay.
So, for the mere mortals, it's not that big of an issue. But when you're Chandler Kramer and you've got a 500-something foot forehand, it's tough to see in the video. He actually skips OB long. And same with Blake here. Blake's ripping on a stiletto. Blake almost actually aces it. It's tough to see in the video. But, yeah, right there, and he actually skitters OB long. So they've got two, I think it measured out at about 230 foot from the drop zone here because they went OB. And, man, it's just windy. It's a very windy.
Wide
green.
open, flat area, too.
And then you got Jaden and GT just playing it smart. They're just, taking their medicine. They're just taking their threes. They're not going to lose anything on this hole.
Gonna go over to Lions, ready to go tomorrow.
Yep, it's round 1.
Chandler's got a tough par putt here. Bogey putt.
Yeah, very tough bogey putt. Just right off the top, and you can kind of see it on Chandler's face. That's just kind of been the story of his round.
But he was right there and lost 2 shots on that hole.
Yep, but knowing Chandler, he'll definitely bounce back at Lions.
Exactly.
And then that's a great putt from Blake. Great bogey save. So not exactly the way Chandler wants to finish the round or Blake, but if you know anything about Lions is pretty much set up for their games.
And they're all going to tap out. So as they tap out their pars, what about the first round? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a windy day. First round nerves definitely gets everybody, I think, especially with it being an A tier.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it sets up really well for round 2. I think Jaden tied hot round for the round with Elijah Cleary. So after round 1, Jaden was 8 down. Elijah Cleary 8 down, Sam DiCarlo 6 down, and then GT actually is going to be on lead card again tomorrow. He PDGA numbered out 3 guys.
Did he really?
Yep, he did. So, and I'll be really excited to watch it because Lions is kind of a completely different style of golf than Crossroads. Lions is pretty wide open, and if you can, throw far, pitch up, and putt, you're going to be able to score. So
go ahead, tell your sponsors, tell everybody what's going on. Thank them again, and I want to thank Chapman for filming today.
Yeah, shout out to Chapman. Chapman did a really, really, really good job, and I believe this is his first time ever filming a tournament.
Yes.
Yeah, but thank you to our sponsors, Meridian, Texas Farm Bureau, Dr. Michael Mansell, Rome Roof and Solar, Discoholics, Storm Nation, Magnolia Realty, George Ranghill, AAA Straight Vape, Game Nights, Armory Disc Golf, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Looking forward to seeing what happens at Lions.
Yes, sir.